Hello fellow sim racers, and welcome to the first alphabetically speaking, of this run through of all of the cars in the ACC GT4 pack. This video is detailing the Alpine A110 GT4, and I mention first alphabetically because I honestly have no idea which of these videos you're going to watch first, and whether you've watched the main video on the main channel detailing everything in the GT4 pack in probably a bit more detail, but I'm going to try and go through each of these cars in as much detail as possible as I drive them, trying to do my best to convey the driving experience, which doesn't always come across so well in the review type videos. Now, the first thing you'll notice as we get jammed up in amongst the AI on the way into turn 2 is that the tyres are, well, if you look at the HUD, they're sort of a deep blue colour, a deeply concerning deep blue colour. Let's try and send it down inside the Porsche here. No problem. So yeah, the GT4, at least in the SRO GT4 European series, which this game is replicating, as we get a huge lag spike there, sends me into the track limits warning territory. Never mind. Yeah, anyway, as I was saying, no tyre warmers in GT4 Europe, which means we are going to have an entertaining first lap. The car understeers quite badly to start with, and power oversteer is a bit of a problem, as we might find as we try to put the foot down coming out of this, the slowest corner on the circuit. Not too bad, got away with it. Not the best traction I could have had. Lost out a little bit to the AMG ahead of us. But wow, yeah, this GT4 pack, I've had it now for a few days. I've been capturing some footage for the main video, which I hope you guys have seen, because I put way more effort into that than these ones. But well, they're just so much fun to drive. They're very different to the GT3s. It would be really easy to dismiss these cars as being sort of GT3 light. You know, they've got less power, less aero, and I think if you were taking a negative view, you could sort of say, well, they're not as fast, so why should I care? But the driving experience is so different. This is much more like driving a road car than a racing car. If a GT3 is close to a racing car, then this does feel like a road car on slicks in a lot of ways, in the sense that the power, well, in some of these cars is actually lower than the road car version. In the case of the Alpine we're driving today, with its enormous 1.8 litre turbocharged engine, they've actually had to uprate the power for the GT4 version, but I think that's a bit of a rarity amongst this particular group of cars. There might be one or two others. So we get on the power a little bit early, miss the apex. Got away with the track limits thing, even though I didn't lift there. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, the driving experience in these GT4s is more akin to a road car. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, I think the underlying qualities of each of the cars comes through a lot more than it does with the GT3 cars, which I think, honestly, they do sort of get, while there is a big difference, they get quite similar when you get them on the edge. Like a lot of because of the amount of aero, a lot of the mid-engine cars feel like the mid-engine cars, and a lot of the front-engine cars feel like the front-engine cars. The Porsche is, of course, an exception, but it's the only rear-engine car, so, that is what that is. As we brake a little bit deep, get away with it. The other thing, because there's less aero, you can get closer. There's less aero wash, as I try to turn in far too early there. That's the other issue I've been having, is that my brain is attuned to all of the braking and turn-in points for the GT3 cars, and I've not really done enough practice to really reset. Let's try and send one into turn 1. Not the best overtaking zone, and we're a bit too far behind there. It's always a good run down into turn 4, I think it is. Let's get off the power, because I was getting a bit greedy with the curve there. And I forget the point I was trying to make before that. It's fed up of seeing the back of this AMG. If this is the first video you're watching, then I want to be able to show you guys more of the cars. So let's go after this Aston Martin, which is one of the better cars, I think. Sort of, when I say better, I think it's one of the cars I'm enjoying more, certainly. Sorry, as I was saying, yeah, ride height much higher because there's less need to have the car slammed down for aero, and I'm pretty sure minimum ride heights are enforced by the balance of performance measures anyway. And what that means is, well, you can absolutely monster the curbs. I mean, you kind of can at Misano anyway because those curbs are pretty flat. But as you'll see through some of these other videos, you go to places like Hungaroring or Zolder in particular, with those horrible chicanes with the massive sausage curbs. You just don't have to be afraid of them. You can straight line them almost. They're really, really incredible just how many liberties you can take that in a GT3 car you'd just be in real trouble. See if we can cruise up to the back of this Aston Martin. We've halfway into the race already, and I feel like this has been one continuous stream of consciousness so far. This is the first of these I've done, so I guess I'm trying to talk about the GT4 pack. Sorry, that won't be the first or last time I've made that mistake, that's for sure. As you see, tyres up to temperature now, upper end of the 26s seems to be the sweet spot pressure wise, and as you can see, the car's pretty responsive. I'm enjoying this Alpine a lot, even if I am forgetting the how much curb I can really get away with taking there. Go for a late send on the Aston Martin GT4 because I want to cruise up to this Camaro, which is my favourite of the GT4 cars. Now that was the case, we're going to have to get off the power or we are in real trouble with the track limits. Got away with it because lifted, but that was taking the mickey a bit, unfortunately, on my part. So yeah, I'm just running the default aggressive setup on this Alpine, and it's a fun car. It does feel perhaps like it doesn't quite have the same grunt as some of the others. And I think that might just be my own sort of personal biases playing into it. Knowing that it's only got that little 1.8 litre turbo engine. Maybe this is me just imagining it, but it does feel like it just doesn't get out of the corners as quick as some of the other cars. Now, somewhere like Misano and Zolder and some of the other smaller tracks is not quite as obvious, but you take this to Monza or Paul Ricard, and it feels like it's not the right choice. Let's put it that way. That being said, I don't think Monza or Paul Ricard are the best choices for these kind of cars at all. One of the best things about this GT4 pack is it makes the Zolders and Zandvoorts and Misanos of the ACC track selection seem like just the best places to race, because all of a sudden those horrible twisty bits that don't necessarily feel all that natural in a GT3 car, well, they feel great. Not only do they feel great, they feel really racy. I mean, as you can see, you know, we're not getting, again, this probably isn't the best place to demonstrate it, but you don't get massive amounts of aero wash. And this car feels very natural to drive. I mean, I'm still trying to be a bit too aggressive with that left-hander there and get it wrong every time. Probably should have done some practice beforehand. But as is usually the case with me, it'll be this one done and on to the next one, and then forget anything I've learned. But yeah, I've done 2 practice laps before I recorded this video, one of which ended with computer glitching out. So, you know, the fact that the car is able to be driven to a reasonable standard, you know, I'm nowhere near peak performance time-wise, but I'm getting quicker lap after lap. I'm making my way up through against this the AI. I've got them set at 98. I normally race against them at 100, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to see some overtakes, so you see lots of different cars. But yeah, it's intuitive. This is one of the more fun cars to drive on. I've outbraked myself a little bit there, but we're about to come into the last lap, and I wanted to get past this Camaro so we could see the back of the Ginetta. Turning in a bit early here, but the AI is starting to annoy me. I'm getting frustrated. Let's get past him on the run down to turn 4, I think.
Engaging on the car ahead in sector 1. Well done, mate. Personal fastest.
Yeah, I mean, let's go over the sausage curbs for no reason there. Totally can. They're just not there. It's great. No longer must you fear the sausage. Just take a giant bite.
Car on the
Go
left.
for a extremely late send. Make the ABS do a lot of work. Get away with it, and let's see if we can get close enough to this Ginetta so you guys can have a look. Yeah, this is definitely going to be the last lap. It's flown by already. Now, I wish I'd known where I started on the grid. It was towards the back. I just can't remember where it was. But we've had some fun trying it around. As I said, if you want the full details about the GT4 pack and some actual, you know, deep thought in some of it, then the main video on the main channel is the place to go. These were really designed just as an opportunity to see you guys, to let you guys see each of the cars in race trim against the AI, driven sort of okayly. Oh, nearly lose it. Again, because these aren't twitchy aero cars, we can catch something like that quite easily. The way I reacted there with a very quick single reaction was very GT3-like, but it didn't load up the way I was expecting. I had to have another little bite. But again, you've got a little bit more time to think, and that's kind of beautiful. So yeah, all in all, Alpine, great car, but I think the real winner here is GT4 for the. I think it's going to produce amazing racing. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go and record the next of these videos. It would be great if you want to watch more of it, then you can click through the rest of this particular group of videos on the channel. Otherwise, go and watch the main proper GT4 pack review on the main channel. And if not, then, well, thanks for making it to the end and enjoy whatever you're going to watch next. Cheers, guys.